Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Fantasy Football Post. I'm Sid Rosenberg for OpenSports.com and, of course, the National Football Post. Let's help you get your lineup set for Week 6 of the NFL season. Here he is, my main man, Joe Fortenbaugh, the great fantasy expert at NF Post. Joe, good morning. How are you, pal?
Doing very well. Sid, how you doing today?
Doing well, thanks. Another exciting weekend of football about to come here. Each week you hand out an award for most beastly performance. Miles Austin was an obvious pick for the Cowboys last week, but who do you think will be the big contenders for this week's award?
The two I have on my list right now I like the most, quarterback Donovan McNabb from the Philadelphia Eagles and running back Knowshon Moreno from the Denver Broncos. Moreno's got a very favorable matchup Monday night at San Diego against a run defense that's in the bottom 10 in the league. We all saw what happened to them against Pittsburgh and Rashard Mendenhall on Sunday night a couple weeks ago. Running behind that very big, very stout offensive line from Denver, I'd expect Moreno to have a very good game. And everyone's been lighting up the Oakland Raiders this year. This week it's McNabb's turn.
Yeah, I think so. He comes off a big week as well. Speaking of Miles Austin of the Cowboys here, Joe, our astute producer Jason Garcia, one of the all-time greats, in need of receiving help in one league, happened to pick up both Austin and Jeremy Maclin last week. Do you have any sneaky plays based on matchups for this coming Sunday?
Well, it's tough at this point in the season. Most of the best players are taking off waivers at this point. Every now and again, there is a guy that emerges. I think one that some people have heard of, but is still available in a lot of leagues, is Sidney Rice, wide receiver from the Minnesota Vikings. This is a big weekend for the Vikes as they host the Baltimore Ravens in Minnesota this Sunday. It's going to be a huge matchup. Baltimore, not the same defense we know from the past, has done okay against the run this year, but has really struggled against the pass. Sid, bottom 10 in the league in pass defense this season. Look for Rice to emerge. If Brett Favre starts taking shots down the field, Bernard Berrien might have some coverage roll towards his direction. Sidney Rice could be the guy this weekend.
Vikings may be on their way to 6-0 after the Ravens this week. Okay, Joe, let's play a little stardom, sit-em. First, here's your starts for Sunday. I'm guessing you think David Garrard and the Jaguars will bounce back after that putrid performance last week in Seattle.
Yeah, Mike Sims-Walker's back in the lineup, and that's what really hurt Garrard last week. He needs that big play target. He's got Maurice Jones-Drew. The best thing about this matchup is the Jaguars are playing the Rams this weekend. Everyone's been having a nice game against the Rams. David Garrard bounces back.
Now on to the guys you want to sit. You're saying sit Joe Flacco against the Vikings, and even the Charger running back, LaDainian Tomlinson, off the bye week.
Yeah, Joe Flacco, it's a tough matchup at Minnesota this week. Very aggressive pass rush, very difficult to play inside the Metrodome. It gets very noisy in there. It's hard to hear the snap counts. Flacco's been a great quarterback this year. He's not a terrible start this weekend, but there are several other options out there that are better plays than him. He struggled on the road a little bit this year. Passing yards per game, under 230, whereas at home he's over 270. He's thrown a couple picks on the road, so I'd stay away from Flacco this weekend. In addition, LaDainian Tomlinson will be splitting carries again with Aaron Sproles, goes against the very aggressive Denver defense that has limited just about every running back they faced this year, giving up less than 10 points a game. I'd sit Tomlinson as well.
All right, here's your favorite part of the show, Joe. It's fantasy pick'em time. Joe, I'm going to give you two players. You tell me who will have the better fantasy day. By the way, Joe, you killed it last week. Only miss was on Pierre Garçon versus Wesley Welker. Outside of that, you had a perfect week last week.
Every dog has his day.
All right, dog. Let's see what you can do this week. Kurt Warner, Arizona quarterback versus Seattle, or Matt Hasselbeck, Seattle quarterback versus Arizona.
This is going to be a great matchup. I'm going to go with Hasselbeck, to tell you the truth. He's got less weapons than Warner, but he's very good at home. He's going against the Arizona pass defense that ranks dead last in the league. I also expect Kurt Warner to have a big game, but I'm going to go with Hasselbeck this week.
Saints running back Pierre Thomas versus the New York Football Giants, or Steeler running back Rashard Mendenhall versus the Cleveland Browns.
Rashard Mendenhall, we're going to go with him again. Willie Parker might be coming back this weekend. He could play and steal some touches. Cleveland's one of the worst run defenses in the league. Mendenhall's playing to keep that starting job. And the Giant front seven, very stout, very difficult to run against this year. Struggled a little bit compared to last year's numbers, but with the split carries in the passing game in New Orleans, I'm going with Mendenhall.
Let's go Giants. All right, Houston running back Steve Slayton, Joe, versus the Bengals, or Redskin running back Clinton Portis versus the winless Chiefs.
I like Slayton more as a running back. I think he's a better player. He's younger. He's more dynamic. But this is a better matchup for Clinton Portis, unfortunately. The Chiefs have been abysmal on both sides of the ball this year. Everyone's been running against them. Clinton Portis wouldn't surprise me if he only got maybe 75, 80 yards, but did punch in one or two scores. I know it's kind of a low upside player, but I'd take Portis over Slayton this weekend.
Viking wide receiver Bernard Berrien versus the Ravens, or Chief wide receiver Dwayne Bowe versus the Redskins.
Good matchup. I think both of them are going to have big days. I'm going to go with Bo. Garbage time numbers are in effect. Him and Castle are finally starting to build a little bit of a rapport. I think Bo's one of those players that's on the up as of now with the upcoming schedule. Kansas City's going to throw. They're going to throw all day. I'm going to go with Bo.
Little tight end action here on the way out, Joe. Jeremy Shockey of the Saints versus his former team, the Football Giants, or Chris Cooley of the Redskins versus Kansas City.
You know, I'm going to go with Shockey on this one. Cooley's an outstanding tight end and will have the better season, and he also has the better matchup. But Shockey's got a vendetta game coming up here. And in addition, when you look at how tight ends have played against the Giants this season, Witten and Cooley both found the end zone against them. Yards have been there. Not monster numbers, but tight ends have been able to find the end zone against New York. I'm going to go with Shockey in a revenge game.
Well, Joe, listen, have a safe trip out to San Diego. As always, a spectacular job today. We'll see you again next Tuesday for more fantasy coverage right here on the Fantasy Football Post. As always, Joe, thank you so much.
Thanks, Sid. And hopefully I have a little bit of a better tan next week for you.
Try to catch up to me. Remember, you can also follow Joe on Twitter at Joe Fortenbaugh for more great fantasy updates. For Joe Fortenbaugh, I'm Sid Rosenberg. And as always, folks, good luck in your fantasy game and enjoy the football.